So what we have here is something from chapter 6. This was the centroid. So a centroid is formed by 2 to 3 medians, and a median is a line connecting a midpoint to the opposite vertex. So I've got 2 pictures here. This first one kind of has it labeled so you can see what it means to have a median. Notice that a median connects a midpoint to the opposite vertex, and that's why I have these markings here. If these 2 markings are present, it tells you this one is directly in the middle. Same thing with this here. Because to be in the middle, that means your 2 sides are congruent, or the same. So that's a midpoint, and that's a midpoint. And I've drawn them to connect them straight across to the opposite vertex. Where they intersect, that location is called the centroid. Now notice that I've got a shorter piece, well, shortest piece, than a medium piece. The shortest piece has the value of x. The medium piece is twice as big, 2x. And I've highlighted that in this picture over here. So x and 2x, meaning when I go all the way across, that's a long, 3x. So short, medium, long. Now, the short piece will always connect the centroid to the side. So centroid to side, centroid to side, centroid to side. Those will always be the short. The medium will always be centroid to vertex. So here to vertex, here to vertex, here to vertex. Those will all be mediums. Long is all the way across, from midpoint all the way to vertex. Midpoint to vertex, midpoint to vertex. So we can use these algebraic properties in order to find missing values in our triangle. It is generally used to find the center of gravity. And for that, we talked about that balancing toy. Here's the overhead view of a balancing toy that's utilizing a centroid. Notice how it is triangular shaped. Let me go ahead and change orientation. It's up here. Okay. So notice how it balances. It can spin around, can tip back and forth, and that's because here is where it balances, and that little dot right there, that's its balancing point. That is its centroid. Now, of course, in a real-world application, it's a bit fancier than that, but it still allows you to see that it can be applied to toys, as well as actual things in physics. And let me actually go ahead and make that as a special note. So centroid is related to center of gravity. And it is one of our special triangle centers. Just remember, hearing the word center did not tell you centroid. Center could still refer to a variety of different types, from centroid to incenter, circumcenter, and orthocenter. But if you talk about where it has to balance or balancing point, that is referring to the centroid. So looking at this thing down here, put up an example. For these questions, I'm going to use let P be the centroid. So I'm going to name my center part here P. And that means this part here will be the midpoint. I can prove it by giving little marks right there. No, it is not to scale because I'm just sketching this. So let's go ahead and do some demonstrations. Let's say that the short value was 14. Go ahead and find the medium and the long. And so if we wanted to give those things variables, which we could say that this here is x, and then the entire thing all the way across is y. We could do it like that. Or we could call them medium and long. Up to you. So we know that the medium here is twice as big as here. So x, which is the medium, equals 2 times the short. So 2 times 14. So the medium is 28. Now y is the long. You can do 2 things to find it. You can either do 3 times 14, or you can just add together 28 plus 14. So again, I'll make both notes. You can do 3 times the short, so 3 times 14. You can also do 14 plus 28, short plus medium, to get the long. Either way, so again, I'm going to go and add them together. No matter what you choose, your end answer is 42. So your long value is 42. P, be the centroid. This time notice that 18 is the medium. So I have to find the short, which is x, and find the long, which is y. So looking at this one here, to find x, which is the short. Now remember that the short is half the size of the medium. So just take 18, cut it in half. So short is 18 divided by 2, which is just 9. So you now know that your short is 9. In this question, y is still the long, so I can solve it 2 ways. I can do 3 times the short I just found, or I can add together short plus medium. So I can do 3 times 9, or I can do 9 plus 18. Either way, my answer is still 27. Make a little other note up here. This question here, this is what you do when you've been given the short. This next one is what you do when you've been given the medium. And again, the medium goes from centroid to vertex. Let's go ahead and do one last one, this time looking at a triangle where I give you the long. Let's go ahead and set this up right here. Here is our third figure. Same triangle, I'm still going to use P as my centroid. So let's say this is the midpoint. Connect it all the way across. Here is our value of P. And so let's say this time that we have a long all the way across. So I'm showing that to show it's everything there. And let's say that that value is 45. So from here all the way to there is 45. And I want to find x and y. X is my short, y is my medium this time. Okay, so let's say I want to find x, which is my short. Remember, I've been given a long. The long is the same thing as 3 times the short. So to get from long to short, just divide by 3. 45 divided by 3. And again, that's because this thing times 3 will get me to here. To go backwards, divide by 3. So x is 15. And let's go ahead and do y. Y is my medium. And the easiest thing to do is just 2 times the short. 2 times 15 gets me 30. So I now know the value of the short, and I know the medium. And this question is an example of solving it given a long. So again, I'm using the phrase short, medium, and long to talk about what part I'm looking at when I'm looking at the median where the centroid has divided up. Okay, in question 4 here, it says solve for x, the short, medium, and long. So I have the same scenario. P is still my centroid because I'm using that same rule I gave at the very top. I can see that this is my short, and again, I know 3x plus 5 is my short because the short is from the midpoint to the centroid. I know 10x minus 2 is my medium. Now, I know that the short times 2 gets me the medium. And I've said that before and I've used it, but it might be harder to remember when I have variables. So I'm going to physically write it down right now. Remember that I have 2 times the short to equal the medium. That's the short, that's the medium. Go ahead and plug them in. So again, my short is 3x plus 5. I'm going to use parentheses. 3x plus 5. This is a multiplication symbol. Equals, and my medium is 10x minus 2. Now, you've got 2 choices from here. You can either distribute the 2 to both parts, or you can divide both sides by 2. If you are uncertain about the division, then definitely just go ahead and distribute. I'm going to do 2 times 3x and 2 times 5. 2 times 3x gets me 6x. 2 times 5 gets me 10. And the other side drops straight down. Normal algebra. And again, if you think you might mix up your equal signs, put that bar down so you know exactly where that halfway point is. From this, I want to move my x's to the right. So I'm going to subtract 6x from both sides. 6x minus 6x means it's gone from here. That's gone now. I have 10 equals 10x minus 6x is 4x minus 2. I'm going to go ahead and add 2 to both sides. 12 equals 4x, divide by 4. So that's going to be x equals 3. So that's this part here. Now let's go ahead and solve for the short. Take the 3, plug it back in. So the short is 3 times 3 plus 5. 9 plus 5 equals 14. Take a look at the medium. Now I can either take the 3 and plug it into here, or I could just take the short and times it by 2. Remember, 2 times 14 is my 28. And it is a good thing to check your work. And the way to check it is to say, plug that 3 into here. 30 minus 2 is still 28. So we did it correctly. And lastly, our long, we can either do 3 times 14, or I can add together 14 plus 28. I'm going to show it as 3 times 14, and that is going to be our 42. So that is an example where I have variables here, and I've been given a short and a medium. I'm going to do another one here. I'm going to show short and long. I'm going to keep the same rules as right here. Okay, let's go across here. Here's my P. Okay, so here's your next question using the same rules. My short, I've kept it to still be 3x plus 5, but this time 10x minus 2 is my long all the way across. So the rule I will be using is 3 times the short equals the long. So I'm going to come through here. I have 3 times, my short is still 3x plus 5. And it equals the long, which in our case is 10x minus 2. And when in doubt, I'm going to say distribute. So 3 times 3x and 3 times 5. Slide this up. 3 times 3x is 9x. 3 times 5 is 15. Drop the other side straight down. I'm going to go ahead and subtract 9x from both sides. And again, if you like, draw your equal sign bar on down. I have 15 equals x minus 2. Add 2 to both sides. X is 17. Now let's go ahead and find short, medium, and long. So coming over to here, let's find the short. Plug 17 on in. So 3 times 17 plus 5. And I'm going to go ahead and grab a calculator for that. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a calculator. I have 3 times 17 plus 5, and I get out 56. So my short is 56. Let's go ahead and fill that on in here. My medium, again, that's just going to be 2 times the short. So 2 times 56, that's 112. And then I have my long. I'm going to do 3 times the short. So 3 times 56. So again, coming through here, 3 times 56 gets me 168. And let's go ahead and check our work as well. Okay, so we're going to go ahead now and check the work. And we're going to use x is 17 to plug it into here. So 10 times 17 minus 2, and I still get out the 168. So that means I've checked my work. I know that it really is good. So this was an example of short and long. Let me make that note off to the side here for both of these. So this one here was an example of short and medium. So short and medium. This is an example down here of short and long. And for my final one, I will go ahead and do medium and long. And sign there. All right. In this last one, notice that I've been given a medium and a long. Let me go ahead and make a note of that. So in this one, I've been given medium and long. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to reason through what we have to do, because we're going to be using a fraction. I know most people get scared of fractions. Let's go ahead and show why there's a fraction to begin with and how you can reason through it even if you can't remember the formula. Let's write down what we do know. And I want to write it down relative to what I know about the long. So let's start with this. We know that 3 times the short equals the long. This is an equal sign here. So 3 times the short equals the long. Let's talk about the short. We know that the short is half of the medium. So short is half times the medium. Well, let's go ahead and use substitution. Replace this short with half medium. Let me kind of go ahead and underline it here. This here is going to become what I see right there. So what I'm going to get out is 3. Let's think of this as 3 over 1 for a moment. So 3 over 1 times 1 over 2, that's my half, times the value of the medium, whatever that is, equals the long. And finally, this fraction, let's kind of squeeze it together. This is really 3 halves times the medium equals the long. And that's what we're going to go ahead and use. Now, these parts, we know them. That's medium, that is long. So I'm going to start with 3 halves. There we go here. My medium is 8x minus 10. Remember, a medium goes from centroid to vertex. My long goes from vertex to midpoint. That's 10x minus 3. Now, it's true, you could totally distribute here. But I also know that most of you are not comfortable working with fractions, so we're going to use something called fraction busters. We're going to go ahead on both sides, so everything on the left, everything on the right, multiply by this denominator. Multiply by 2 over 1. 2 over 1. Now think about why we did this. If I multiply both sides by 2, these 2's are gone. I just have a 3 here. Let's go ahead and rewrite what we've got so far. Got 3, parentheses, 8x minus 10 equals 2 times the stuff. For right now, I'll go ahead and still keep it here, but I'm going to distribute that in just a moment. So let me go ahead and show that distribution. I'm going to do 3 times 8x and 3 times negative 10. This gives me 24x minus 30 equals, on this side, 2 times negative 3 and 2 times 10x. So 20x minus 6. From there, we're doing work like normal. If you need to, draw that separation for your equal signs. I'm going to subtract 20x from both sides, and I'm choosing that because I really want to keep my x positive. You could go the other way and make it negative. It'll all be the same thing in the very end. These x's are gone over here, so is that 20. On this side here, I have 4x minus 30 equals negative 6. Add 30 to both sides. These 30's are gone. 4x equals 24. Divide by 4, and x is 6. Now again, as you get better with your algebra, it's true, you don't have to show all these steps. But I know that most of you in geometry will still mix it up. So I'm saying show the steps, show the separation, so you don't make a mistake. If you are comfortable distributing the fraction, you can do that from the beginning. This is simply a workaround, so you don't have to work with the fraction immediately. Now we're going to go after short, medium, and long. Same rules as the other page. let's pick red. So I have found x. Let us go after what we can right now. Let's look at the medium. So my medium is 8 times 6 minus 10. That is a 10. 8 times 6 is 48. 48 minus 10 is 38. So I already know my medium is 38. Let's go after the short. Remember, short is half of the medium. So half of 38. And half of 38 is 19. So short is 19. Finally, let's come back through for long. Long is 3 times the short, or I could do short plus medium, up to you. How about in this case, I'll show short plus medium. I've been showing 3 times short frequently. So again, I could do 3 times this, or I can add them together. It won't matter at all which one you choose. So I have 38, 48, 58, take away 1. I have long of being 57. Let's go ahead and check the work. If I am right, then I can come back through here and use this formula. So on my calculator, I'm going to do 3/2 times my medium value. And I got that long value of 57. So everything here checks out. So this is my final example using a medium and a long. You're finding x, you're finding the short, medium, and long. And again, all the stuff here is all about the centroid, and that comes from chapter 6.